Now you can't just go directly to Angkor Wat. First, you've got to go to a completely separate location to buy the tickets. And that's where I just arrived. But you can see there's a lot of buildings here. So I just have to find the right spot. Well, based on the looks of things, I would say that's probably it. There's something around here, because it looks kind of fancy over here. There it is, Angkor Tourism Information Office. Okay, so this is definitely it. Angkor Tourism Information Office, the Angkor Visitor Code of Conduct. Let's see what the rules are so I don't break any rules, okay? Monks are revered and respected. If you want to take pictures, ask for permission. Women should not touch or stand or sit too close to the monks. Don't touch the carvings, blah, blah, blah. Don't wear revealing clothes. Do not climb on loose stones. Keep the sound to a minimum. Don't give things to beggars. No smoke. That's basically it. That's me paraphrasing it for you. Okay, and we just walk in here to get a ticket. It's a really nice place. It's clean, tile floors. And if you look at these, they've got, it was confusing me because they've got these different, like Bafuan Temple, Bayon Temple, Angkor Wat Temple. I didn't know which window to go to, but I need the 1-day pass. So I've been directed to go over here to window number 34. Sauce today. Okay, $37 later, got my ticket. Okay, we're back here in the parking area. It's definitely a place you need to come with wheels, because from the entrance point until here, by foot, it'll probably take like an hour. So you need a bike or a tuk-tuk or something like that. Now they know how to ice a drink over here. Look at that, that's a whole block. It's so hot out here, you guys can't even imagine. Like every day, like over 100 degrees. Cambodia has the dry season and the wet season. It's basically hot all year round. But if you're gonna ice drinks, this is the way to do it. Hey, so should I. Well guys, we made it. I haven't even really gotten in here yet, and I'm already blown away. As we walk through here, I'm not gonna be a guide. I'm not gonna give you a historical documentary type of video. I'm simply going to show you the sights and share some of my notes, and hopefully you find it interesting. So I guess a good starting point is, what is this place? Well, this was the capital. Angkor was the capital of the Khmer Empire, and at its peak, this entire, ancient capital would have been, about the size of London. In terms of size, and at its peak, they would have had up to possibly 1 million people living in Angkor. Now, this place was built in the style and tradition of Hindu cosmology. And to build this place took about 30 years and required about 300,000 workers. Let that sink in. Back in the 12th century, roundabout, King Sayavarman declared himself the King of Kings and a living God and the ruler of the Khmer Empire. And he instructed this place to be built. And Angkor was to remain the capital of the Khmer Empire for 600 years. Now, Angkor Wat itself, it was just one part of Angkor, but it was a major part. This was the official state temple. And until today, it stands as the largest religious monument in the world. The Khmer Empire is one that we don't often hear talked about, but in the history books, when it's all said and done, it was quite an empire to behold. And like I said, this site that we're on would have been the capital for 600 years. So from the line of the original ruler here, there were 38 successive rulers, all connected to him via bloodline, that called this their capital. You see the size of these stones. Well, keep in mind, they were having to have these transported via elephant, and then the workers doing all the work just, you know, through physical labor, intense labor. And another really interesting thing I learned about this place is that the precision with they set these stones without modern technology, it was so precise that even nowadays with the technology we have, it would be very hard to match. And they did this almost 1,000 years ago. Wow, this is truly impressive. I mean, I know this place is a tourist trap, but it is one of the wonders of the world. And I can totally see why. After the Khmer Empire fell in the 15th century, this place just started to, it was just left to itself. And keep in mind, this was constructed in a jungle. You know, nature is very bad for the preservation of things like this. And this climate here in this region in Cambodia, being in a jungle, there's monsoon seasons. So this place just went into disrepair pretty quick, and it sat that way and just fell apart for about 400 years. Now, in the 1860s, Cambodia became a French protectorate, and just before that happened, there was a French explorer that was out here, and a lot of people say that he discovered this place. He didn't discover it. He sort of rediscovered it, but there were Khmer villages sitting right next to this, but they didn't know the full story, and of course they probably had their superstitions about it. They thought this had just always been here, you know, really kind of simplistic beliefs. But it was that French explorer that came and kind of rediscovered this place, and he wrote about it, and his book really exploded over in Europe, and thus started the rediscovery of Angkor Wat. The excavations, the rebuilding, because a lot of this was just stones laying on the ground. And since then, it's become a World Heritage Site, so there are a lot of different nations working together to help fund the repair of this amazing place. You know, the crazy thing about it is life works in the funniest of ways. The French explorer that stumbled upon this in the 1860s, well, he died about a year later. The reason for his death actually occurred not too far from here. It was in the jungles of present-day Laos, and he died from malarial fever. Now, this place initially was a lot more than just stone structures. The thing is, a lot of the other structures no longer exist. And the reason for this is, you know, these shrines and temples, these were built for the gods. So they wanted it to be very strong, solid structure, and last. And thus, they still remain. I don't do great with heights. I kind of like them, but I do get a little queasy. But I sort of like that feeling. But walking up here, you just think about the step in front of you. You don't look back. It's quite an interesting way to phrase that. Possibility of visit. It's telling you these are the ways you can go. You can see they're wearing some traditional Khmer arakun on. It looks very beautiful. Very beautiful. Okay, this is the same sign. The Chinese is exactly the same. It looks like they had a different translator working on that day. I would say way of visit works a lot better than possibility of visit. Again, not necessarily for the faint of heart. Excavations and repairs of Angkor Wat and the entire Angkor temple complex have been going on since the later end of the 19th century, but they did come to a halt in the mid to late 1970s. I'm guessing you can probably figure out why. During Pol Pot's reign of terror, they did have to take 4 years off from their repair efforts here. You know, speaking of Pol Pot, since he wanted a Chinese-style communist revolution here in Cambodia, you know, like in China, they destroyed a lot of their historical places and temples, and just a lot of the traditional culture was absolutely destroyed. Now, you know what? It's just really lucky that Pol Pot didn't make it one of his projects to make this place disappear and turn it to rubble. Thank goodness he didn't, you know, because I'm actually surprised he didn't, but lucky for us, he didn't. But one thing that Pol Pot did do is he did place landmines all around this place to keep people away from it. I know that they paid painstaking attention to detail in this place, but I also noticed a couple of other details. They certainly went to great lengths. If I didn't have electronic devices on me, I would jump right into those sprinklers. Gosh, that would feel so good. I might have to find a swimming pool today because it's just too damn hot. Now, I told you guys, one thing I love when I'm out here traveling in Southeast Asia is the fact that you can get fresh coconut. Chilled, refrigerated, and just drink it straight out. I just love it. You know, you stop and chill for a minute, you want something to drink. You know, you can get some of these sweetened drinks, you could get a sports drink, you could just get a water, but drinking this, there's nothing bad for your health. It's good for you and it tastes delicious. It's super refreshing. $2 a pop here. So why did the Khmer ruler want to build this amazing city and capital of his empire in the jungle? I mean, that's it's one of the most inhospitable type of places to build something like this. Well, one of the reasons is because we are just north of the Tonle Sap lake, which was a huge water source. And that brings me to the main point of how they made this happen. How were they able to survive and thrive here? One of the biggest reasons they were able to do that was because of their ability to manage water. Reservoirs and canals, and the ability to use hydraulic pressure to send the water to where they needed it to go, mainly to keep the rice paddies with plenty of water. So their methods of water management, setting up reservoirs and irrigating the fields, the rice paddies, is what allowed them to really survive here. That said, it wouldn't take a whole lot to wreak havoc on their empire, because if there was any kind of natural disaster or just any series of events that messed up their water supply, that would mean no water and no rice, and that would mean that they were just in a really, really bad place. When you leave, you walk on the floating bridge. All right, we're actually not at Angkor Wat right now. We're really close. We're still within the Khmer Empire, the Angkor Empire, but this is called Angkor Thom. And Angkor Wat was the official area for their temples, and it was the main religious zone. Now this was more so the capital of the Angkor Empire. This place was actually written about in the journal of a Chinese official who came over here to the Khmer Empire in, I think it was 1296. His name was Zhou Daguan. And he wrote about this. He wrote about Angkor Thom. He wrote about this place and talked about how magnificent it was and said it was just teeming with life. And of course, also in his journals, you know, he said things that were quite prejudiced against the Khmer, you know, referring to them as barbarians and stuff. But keep in mind, to the Chinese back then, anybody that wasn't Chinese was, in their eyes, a barbarian. So, but he wrote about this place, so people had read about it, but it hadn't been found or excavated yet. Well, it turns out that his writings were true, and they have found it. They've been working on setting it back up how it used to be, and here it is today. This was the capital, the actual capital of the Khmer Empire. This is just about 3 kilometers from Angkor Wat. You see this entire temple complex here at Angkor, it was ruins, and most of what you see here had fallen, and it was just stone slabs on the ground like this. And you've got these professionals from various countries and the World Heritage Organization coming here to set it back up. So it's just constantly a work in progress. They're just setting it back up how it used to be. And it's amazing because you can just walk right through it. 1,000-year-old Khmer capital. You can see the intricacy on all these blocks. And that's right, do not touch the carvings. Please, if you come here, please don't be one of those people. You can see all those stone slabs laying on the ground. You gotta rebuild it. Gotta say, this is one of the coolest bridges I've ever crossed. 1,000 years old. This whole ancient city is massive. Okay, so you're just riding around and you'll see, here's just another temple standing here. There's nobody here visiting it. Looks like they're working on some pretty serious excavations, stacking it back up. And according to Zhou Daguan's visit to the Khmer Empire all those years ago, he said that the ruler had 5 wives and about 3,000 concubines. Well, I'm about to be done here, but I did want to finish it up by talking about the downfall of the Khmer Empire and the amazing city of Angkor. Initially, this was a Hindu city, and it transitioned to Buddhism, I believe around the 13th century. And when it transitioned to Buddhism, the people no longer viewed their rulers as gods. So that could have had a negative impact on their willingness to really give their absolute everything to upkeep the place and maintain the city. Also, another really important thing that I learned was that not that long ago, there were some archaeologists and they cut down a tree and were looking at the rings within the tree, because in doing that, they can learn a lot about rainfall over the years and droughts. They can see all that through the tree rings. Well, just around the time when the Khmer Empire collapsed, there was a really bad drought. So there's a high likelihood that one reason this whole thing fell apart, and it fell apart fairly quickly, and it's still somewhat of a mystery. Nobody really knows why. But if their water supply had problems and there was a big drought and they couldn't maintain their rice cultivation, well, things would have gone downhill really quickly from there.
I hope you all have enjoyed this video. I certainly enjoyed the experience of being there and making this video. Angkor is the pride of the Khmer, but more than that, it's a reminder of what incredible feats they are capable of when they put their mind to something. The past few tumultuous decades are only a small snapshot and do not represent who the Khmer truly are. Like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you all so much for the support. We'll catch you in the next video.